Today is Wednesday, April 15th, and welcome back to the Buffalo Daily Podcast. It is your host, Cody, here, bringing you episode 3. So we took last week off because, honestly, we didn't have that much content to bring to you guys, so we thought just take a week off, kind of have the week to relax, then also bring back a strong podcast as we have a busy 2 weeks coming up with the draft. And so it allowed us to prep for that, and also to just make sure the episodes are better and how to improve ourselves. We're officially on Apple Podcasts now and Google Podcasts, so be sure to check out us across all the platforms and be sure to subscribe and support us on the show. The links for everything down below, and be sure to, whatever you like to listen to us on, follow us on that platform. I know for me, I'm an Apple Podcast guy, so that's where I listen to all my current podcasts, so that's why I'll listen to this. So now we are officially 1 month without sports now too, and people are very uncertain about the NHL and the NBA returning. The NFL draft is still a go, which is 8 days away, and let's talk about Dana White and his fight island. This is insane. The guy wants to start his own fight island. So the fights and all the fight cards for April canceled, but it looks like he wants to have it the one in May 9th. He's still figuring out the details on how that's going to work, but yeah, he wants to have it May 9th. And he's interested in purchasing his own island, which is insane. You don't really hear about that too much, about a sports guy purchasing an island, but hey, then let us know what you guys have been up to lately during this quarantine, how you guys are staying busy. I know personally I've been doing a lot of gardening, a lot of time on Amazon, looking at stuff, buying stuff. You know, everything's really backed up with all this coronavirus stuff, so I know where I am right now. Packages are taking at least 30 days to get to you, so I ordered a mic, a light, camera, and stuff like that, and it's all backed up into May, which is insane. When I ordered it March 31st, so that's wild to think about. Before we jump into this week's news, don't forget to check out our merchandise website on Teespring. The link is down below, and use code BD Podcast. Once again, that's BD Podcast, all capitals, for 10% off your order. So be sure to check out merch. We're gonna have new merch dropping soon, like draft day merch. So be sure to check that out if you like that. Now jumping into some news for this week, let's take a look at the Sabres and the NHL to start. They extended the player ban to April 30th of the break and having them stay at home in quarantine back in their hometowns. It's cool to hear from guys on the instigators from the Sabres especially, how different things are for people. I know they've heard from Hutton, he's back home in Ontario. Skinner's back home in Ontario. Reinhardt's back in BC. Then they've also heard from Olofsson and Ullmark, who back in Sweden. It's kind of cool to hear them, how life hasn't changed for them really in Sweden. It's not a full lockdown, so it's kind of life as usual. And it's kind of cool just to hear how they're staying busy in these times, and they're in the same boat as us. So now shifting gears to NHL news. Some sad news, actually, to start off. The Edmonton Oilers announced the other day that, and sadly his wife, forward Colby Cave, passed away at the age of 25. They put him in a medically induced coma and from a brain bleed, and he passed away late Tuesday night. And so, Sunday night. So thoughts and prayers are with the Cave family, and just very sad news. So really sad to talk about, but just thought we'd bring it up to you guys. Moving along, the NHL is making proposals. We'll have cities make proposals for a neutral site for playoffs potentially as an option. So I know the Buffalo submitted a bid to host it at the Harbor Center, which is a great option because it has 3 NHL-sized rings. It has a hotel right above it, so it doesn't get more isolated than that. It's all in one building, 3 pads. So I know they're thinking about just weighing the options of if they do return, having Eastern Conference stay in Buffalo at a neutral site, and they play all their games there isolated. And the West, I know they've been looking at Minnesota, so I'd be very interested to see how that would come out, considering just not a normal format for a professional sports league. But even with that being said, there are still lots of doubt with the season finishing. I know yesterday Drew Doughty came out saying that he doesn't think that they're going to finish the year or there's going to be playoffs this season, so he thinks they'll just be done altogether. And I know I've seen stuff with the NBA, which is in the same boat. So what do you guys think will happen with the NHL? Let us know. We're starting this new thing called SpeakPipe, and the link will be down below where you guys can leave a voicemail, and we can air it on the next podcast of what you guys have to say, and we can elaborate on what you guys are saying. So let us know what you guys think about what will happen with the NHL and their playoffs. We're still going to hold off on the Sabres end of the year wrap-up. I think I'm going to do it now not now, but a couple weeks after the draft is over, talk with NFL draft for a little bit. Then I'm going to do the Sabres wrap-up and awards, because I think they'll be done for this year now, looking at everything. So I'm going to wrap that up in the next couple weeks after I finish with draft content. Now shifting gears over to the NFL and the Bills side of things, it's going to start getting a lot busier now hopefully for the next couple weeks with the draft, because now we are officially 8 days away from the NFL draft. And this will be interesting to see how the draft will play out and how spread out they're going to plan on doing each round, each pick and stuff, since it's not actual draft or real draft where they have the players on site, everything for interviews. So it'll be interesting to see how this will end up turning out to be. Will they get the players on the phone for interviews? Because I know Goodell is doing all the announcement of the picks from his house, and so the team's calling to him, the general managers. So it'll be interesting to see how they actually had a test call too yesterday, testing out how they're going to call and how the draft's going to work. So they haven't really released what they're going to do, but so it'll be interesting to see what they do there. This past weekend, actually, we released our, on the website, on the blog, we released our second mock draft of who we think the Bills should pick. And we took a different approach this time, more focusing on an aggressive approach, filling out spots that we think, depth positions we need, instead of more not development like the first mock draft, but instead just finding our backup running back. We did more of an aggressive approach, trading away a couple picks, because honestly, there's not that much room for guys on this roster. And so let's just give a quick overview of who we picked in this. So in round 2, we traded up actually to pick number 44 in this mock draft from the Colts, because the Buccaneers pick at 45, and I think they'll take a running back to fit in that offense to go with Tom Brady. So we acquired the 44th pick, and the Colts will receive the 54th pick, the 128th overall pick. So it's not really a huge move I think it's enough, and we had the pick. So, and with this pick, we traded up and we got Jonathan Taylor, the running back out of Wisconsin. He's a very physical running back, which I love, because we have Singletary, the little shifty guy will be our open field runner, but then we have Taylor, which would be a great complement to him for short distance runs that could pound the ball into the end zone, or 3rd and 1. Third inches, goal line offense, which would be great. In 2019, he had 320 carries for 2,003 yards and 21 touchdowns, so he had a very solid senior season. Moving on to round 3, at pick number 86, we picked Chase Claypool, a wide receiver out of Notre Dame. He's listed at 6'4", 238, is a great size, and would be a great addition for the Bills to add at wide receiver depth. Round 5, pick number 167. I had this in the last mock draft too. Tanner Muse, the safety out of Clemson. I have more of a safety role, but great guy, great depth position, would be able to learn behind Hyde and Poyer. He's listed at 6'2", 227 pounds, and he ran a 4.41 in the 40-yard dash. Round 6, pick number 188. I have Michael Divinity, edge out of LSU. This allows us to get younger at edge, because we brought in a lot of guys that will be the starters, but we don't really have youth at that position, so we're going to have guys going out the door in the next couple of years. So this would allow us to bring in a guy that's been around big games and can learn. And then pick number 207, I have A.J. Green, a cornerback out of Oklahoma State. Very solid pick and would allow us to develop at corner. And then round 7, I have us trading away actually that pick because I didn't see anything that was great and might as well trade away for future picks because no point wasting a pick for a guy that probably won't make the roster and you can get some assets in return. Next Wednesday's podcast will be a full draft preview discussing the draft class, looking at previous drafts, maybe one last mock draft, so just a bunch of different stuff. So be on the lookout for that podcast. I'm very excited for that one. It'll be a great podcast, a pre-draft show, which will be awesome to see. Then after the second day, we'll do another podcast. We'll do a little recap of once the Bills have some picks in, we'll be able to recap who the Bills have selected, more details on him, and maybe where else to go from there. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to have a lot of podcasts coming to you guys in the next week and a half, as I'm excited for this draft, so to pump out more content and get you guys involved. Over the last week, we've also started doing player report cards on our blog and website. The first 2 we did were Josh and Tre'Davious White, just talking about their season, their stats, and we graded them, rating like what they did well, what they didn't do well, and overall season grade. So be sure to check those out on the blog and show them some support and maybe like tell us which players you want to see us do more in the future, like what player you want to see next. And then in the NHL offseason, we'll do also Sabres report cards. Some sad news also in the NFL coming out on the other day. Former Bills, Vikings, and Seahawks quarterback Tarvaris Jackson passed away actually in a car accident. He was only 36 years old, so prayers go to the Jackson family as that's some more sad news. Wrapping up with the NFL, it has been reported that the NFL will do a virtual OTAs. So they have not officially, but they have shut down regular OTAs for the year, as they're not going to have players report to their facilities of practice. No team is required to host these OTAs, but they can begin April 20th for teams with new head coaches, and April 27th for teams with returning coaches, so for like the Bills. They can last up to 3 weeks and must end by May 15th. No on-field work will be allowed for any teams unless all 32 facilities are permitted to attend. So all 32 state teams and stuff must be cleared to do OTAs if they can participate. For these virtual OTAs, they're permitted to do classroom instruction, workouts, virtual workouts, and programs, and non-football educational programs through video chat. These virtual OTAs will count for guys for workout bonuses, and teams are actually able to pay for equipment up to $1,500 for their players for workouts and anything they might need. It'll be interesting to see how much coverage actually the media gets through these virtual OTAs, because I know with regular OTAs, team media gets a lot of coverage because there's not much going on for football fans. But with coronavirus, who knows how much they're going to share with us and how much interactive it will be. So it'll be interesting to see how this turns out. So wrapping up this episode now, thank you guys for tuning into episode 3 of the Buffalo Daily Podcast. I always love trying to do this and improve and get more comfortable behind the mic. If you want to leave a voicemail, like we said earlier in the podcast, to be played on the next episode, go down below to the SpeakPipe link in the description and just leave a voicemail saying your thoughts, what you want to hear from us, anything else, and we'll post it into the podcast, and we'll talk about it and to be discussed on it. Make sure to follow our socials at Buffalo Daily 716 for Twitter and Instagram, and we added a new YouTube page and stuff, so everything is linked down in the description below. Check out the blog for posts too. We're going to have more draft merch coming up on the merch website, so that's on the links down below, so be sure to check that out. And then tune in next week for lots of draft coverage. It'll be a busy week and a half as we're excited to finally cover some sports again, which is awesome. So there's going to be a lot of podcasts coming out, articles, Instagram posts, everything. So be sure to check that out. Finally, hit that subscribe button, guys, and show us some love. It's great to see some guys finally growing the page, and I hope you guys enjoy this content, because I sure enjoy making it. Finally, and that's it for this week, guys. Thanks for tuning in and supporting us, and until next week, go Buffalo.